The Polyphonic Spree. Watch Us Explode. That's from their, at this point, last album, 2007's The Fragile Army. And it's 2010, the year we make contact. It's December 3rd, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the 197th episode of Media Monarchy. Once again, my name is James Evan Pilato. I'm your host and webmaster of the site and show, MediaMonarchy.com, your source for alternative news, politics, conspiracies, and cover-ups, coming to you live, as always, in sight and sound from the Portland Radio Authority, PRAradio.org, every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, simulcast worldwide thanks to ZeroPointRadio.com, as well, 92.3 FM and 1670 AM in Casper, Wyoming. Again, thanks to ZeroPointRadio.com. Of course, the worldwide home of free speech, RevereRadio.net. We also thank Free Radio Olympia, FROlympia.org, 98.5 FM in Olympia, Washington, BerkeleyLiberationRadio.net on 104.1 FM in Berkeley, California, OneSkyRadio.com on 90.7 FM in Kasilof, Alaska, StickAM.com/Ground Zero Radio in Canton, Georgia, 89.9 FM Patriot Radio in La Mesa, Texas. And again, thanks to my man Glenn at kboo.info, that's KBOO.info, and Jeff at radio23.org for rehosting the high-quality downloads and episodes from MediaMonarchy.com. If you are an independent, alternative media outlet, website, radio show, video, anything, and you want to replay the shows, you don't have to ask. It's all public domain. It's all open source. I just ask that you play the high-quality version so it sounds good if you're re-streaming it. We should get reacquainted on Facebook.com/Media Monarchy, as well as MySpace, Twitter, YouTube, Ustream, and we are broadcasting and streaming live video of this episode 197 live, again on this December 3rd morning, 2010. You can buy a nice Media Monarchy t-shirt at cafepress.com/Media Monarchy. And again, we always implore you to send us news tips via MediaMonarchy@gmail.com or on Skype, Instant Messenger, iTunes, radioforall.net, archive.org. Tons of ways to get the information, to share the show, to comment, to reach out, to help learn and grow, and that's why we're all doing this. Truth is stranger than fiction, and the things going down in the real world are far more fascinating than the shadows on the wall in the tabloid world that they tell us is important. If you find the show important, if you find the information valuable, I don't get rich off of this. I do it because it's a passion. But you could hit the donate button at the top of MediaMonarchy.com. Your support helps keep alternative media going, paying for the domain names, the P.O. Box, the DJ dues. I had to pick up a new mixer. I bought one used from a nice used music store here in Portland called Trade Up Music. All those things. A new microphone for the studio here. All those things need that little bit of dough, and again, it's greatly appreciated. Huge thanks to Robert in Hillsboro, Oregon, for his donation, and a huge thanks, and it was such a generous donation, and I feel like such a jerk for not getting the name down correctly, but I think it's Patrice in Iowa, and that may not be exactly correct, but you know who you are, and I apologize for not getting your name correct, and I send you a huge thanks. As we like to do, look at the breaking news, again on this December 3rd morning. Oh, golly, the Obama-CIAda makes a surprise visit to his Afghanistan surge. President Barack Obama slipped unannounced into Afghanistan today, days before an important review about the conflict that has already lasted over 9+ years. Meeting up with his good buddy Karzai from Unocal, and of course his brother, running most of the major drug ops out of Afghanistan. Of course, that's what the wars are about. Gold, oil, and drugs. You got to get those poppies. You got to keep that heroin moving. November jobs report, surprise, surprise, unemployment rate is up. Meanwhile, the battle over Don't Ask, Don't Tell rages on. Meanwhile, WikiLeaks, I like that, that's good. WikiLeaks founder says guards against death threats. And of course, we're going to get into Cablegate story. Oh my gosh. Black Crows are performing for quite possibly the very last time in Portland tonight. That and all those other things are all in the front of Google News, and we of course like to keep an eye peeled, as disgusting as that image is, to see all the things that are going on. It's always interesting when news spills out on a Friday. You got to wonder if that's timed to limit damage. So again, here we are. Another week goes by. Last week's episode, I hope you guys enjoyed. We had our in-studio guest, H. Michael Sweeney of ProParanoidPress.com, and we discussed the TSA and Star Whackers and security technology and all kinds of things. And wouldn't you know it, later that night, massive news happens, putting our own little Portland here on the worldwide stage in the phony War of Terror charade. And I probably don't have to tell you, and longtime listeners would probably expect that this coverage was coming, me being in Portland, Oregon, and me tracking false flag intelligence operations meant to pacify, agitate, desensitize all levels of the public, from us slaves, or civilians as we're now called in the military jargon. So we have a lot to go over in the tree bomber case. So we're going to start it with an article from Kurt Nimmo, and the headline says it quite plainly: clueless patsy set up by FBI in Christmas tree bombing plot. They not only hate us for our freedom, but also for our Christmas trees, or at least that's what the FBI and the cops in Oregon would have you believe. The FBI thwarted an attempted terrorist bombing in Portland's Pioneer Courthouse Square before the city's annual tree lighting Friday night, November 26th, the anniversary of Mumbai and Black Friday. A Corvallis man, thinking he was going to ignite a bomb, drove a van to the corner of the square at Southwest Yamhill and 6th and attempted to detonate it. Mohammed Osman Mohammed. And there we have the double name, a la Sirhan Sirhan, and of course the middle name, Osman, which is reportedly Osama bin Laden's cover name, Tim Osman, when he was visiting the States in the 90s. But continuing. Mohammed Osman Mohammed, 19 years old, a Somali-born U.S. citizen, had a little help from the FBI. The arrest was the culmination of a long-term undercover operation during which Mohammed had been monitored for months as his alleged bomb plot developed. In a repeat of a now quite familiar pattern, the FBI told Mohammed they were building the bomb. They went so far as to travel to a remote spot in Lincoln County, Oregon, where a bomb concealed in a backpack was detonated as a trial run for the upcoming Christmas tree attack. The FBI eagerly assisted their clueless Mark when he decided to shoot a video explaining his half-witted act. Mohammed and the FBI operative agreed to meet in Portland, where Mohammed allegedly told the FBI operative that he had written articles that were published in Jihad Recollections, an online magazine that advocated holy war against American infidels and assorted Christmas revelers. Mr. Muhammad's mentally disturbed fantasy, fueled by the FBI, is reminiscent of the Christmas Day non-bombing attributed to Nigerian Umar Farouk Abdul-Muttalib, who is said to plan to take down an airliner over Detroit in spectacular fashion by igniting his underwear. According to this FBI affidavit, Muhammad's absurd bomb plot began in August 2009 when he contacted by email an unknown associate overseas said to be involved in terrorist activities. In December 2009, while the mysterious associate was in a frontier province of Pakistan, Muhammad and the associate discussed the possibility of Muhammad traveling to Pakistan to participate in violent jihad. Pakistan's intelligence service, the ISI, is notorious for creating and running jihad terrorist groups under the supervision of the Central Intelligence Agency. In late 2009, General Ahmad Shuja Pasha, General Director of the ISI, presented CIA boss Leon Panetta with, quote, some highly classified and irrefutable evidence, end quote, that the mega snoop agency is involved in creating and running supposed terror groups in Pakistan. The proof about instances of covert U.S. support to some hardened militant outfits and terrorist activities they carried out over the past few weeks and months were presented to Panetta. So reports the Pakistan Observer. CIA effort to construct a Muslim terrorist archetype emerged following the Soviet-Afghan War, a multi-billion-dollar effort that was part of a CIA covert agenda initiated during the Carter administration by then National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski. The CIA operative Osama bin Laden, a.k.a. Tim Osman, would serve as a model for all Islamic terrorists and demented suicide bombers to come. It's interesting to note that Mr. Muhammad's middle name is Osman. Muhammad was clueless right up until the moment he pressed a button on his cell phone. He thought this would blow up the Portland Christmas tree and kill infidels, but instead it brought in the cops. Yelling Allah Akbar, Arabic for God is great, Muhammad tried to kick agents and police after he was taken into custody, according to the Independent Online. Muhammad, a naturalized U.S. citizen living in Corvallis, was charged with attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction, which carries a maximum sentence of a life in prison. A court appearance happened Monday. He pled not guilty. We're interjecting that into this article that was published on the 27th. The threat was very real, says Arthur Balazan, a special agent in charge of the FBI in Oregon. Our investigation shows that Muhammad was absolutely committed to carrying out an attack on a very grand scale. There's no shortage of psycho nutcases absolutely committed to maiming and killing large numbers of people. Very few of them, however, are particularly useful for governments determined to keep the terrorist swindle going for as long as possible. The global war of terror mill needs a constant stream of patsies and dimwits to keep the charade in motion. It takes a special kind of patsy, one capable of actually deluding himself into believing they're jihadists in Pakistan who believe blowing up Christmas trees in Portland makes logistical sense in the war against the great Satan. One stupid enough to believe FBI agents are Islamic terrorists, and the chimera known as al-CIAda is actually a global terror organization instead of a ruse named after the Mujahideen database.